I'm Sam.
And this is Gabe.
And this is Coaster Wars.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coaster Wars podcast, where today we'll be talking about the most recent roller coasters that we have ridden, which, believe it or not, for me is September. It feels so long ago. I need to get on some more roller coasters, man.
I agree. Okay, this is a little bit deceptive because my most recent credit was in August, but I did go to a theme park in September, I think, like very early September. But it was to a park I'd been to. It was to our home park at Six Flags Great America. So
these are our most recent credits in the order that we've gained.
Yes. So not the most recent coaster that I've ridden, but the most recent newest one that I've ridden. And Gabe's looks really cool, and I'm mad about it.
It's an interesting coaster. It's definitely a little short. It's on the shorter side, but it's really new. It has a really good view. I mean, come on. This coaster is just, again, location. And that's what this coaster is all about.
Well, why don't you introduce our fighters and we'll get into it and we'll get to talk about how cool yours is.
All right. In the red corner, standing at a height of 110 feet and reaching a top speed of 56 miles per hour. Hailing from the Gerslauer Gym and the mountains of Colorado, it is Defiance. In the blue corner, standing at a height of 91 feet and reaching a top speed of 51 miles per hour. Hailing from the GCI Gym and the hills of Pennsylvania, it is Lightning Racer. Let the fight begin. All right, so obviously the coaster I'm bringing here is Defiance. It's a new coaster. It's built and constructed in 2022, so it's only about a year old. It's probably a coaster you've never heard of. So,
yep, I haven't heard of
it. This roller coaster is constructed in the mountains of Colorado, and it's
in the mountains.
Just an insane place.
In the mountains, it's on top of a mountain.
So basically, if you don't mind, let's just dive right into it. Let's just do that. Okay. So this roller coaster, Defiance Coaster, is built at a place called Glenwood Springs Caverns. Now, the main attraction to the amusement park is the caverns underneath it. However, they have started to construct a few more rides. They have a swing ride and some other things, but this is their newest addition. But in order to get to the park...
Okay, wait. Gabe has just completely glossed over this. I know we're here to talk about coasters and stuff, but we got to mention this swing ride for just a second because I personally find swing rides to be absolutely fucking terrifying. In case you haven't heard some previous episodes, I have a severe fear of heights. And this freaking swing ride not only goes up into the middle of the sky, but it also swings you out over the edge of the mountain. It's fucking terrifying. Anyways,
so the only access to the amusement park is actually, I don't know, what would you call it, like a cabin lift or like
gondola,
a tram, a gondola. Yeah, well, no, because gondolas are like open. These aren't open. It's almost like a
Google a freaking picture of a gondola.
Okay,
do it right now.
You do it. It's basically like something you would ride in to go skiing in the Colorado mountains.
Yes.
Where it's it is a gondola.
Yes. You know what the hell I'm talking about, Gabe.
Well, I'm not a gondola expert. I'm a roller coaster expert, all right?
Fair point. Okay, continue.
So anyway, you have to ride this gondola up to the top. And that's the only access to the amusement park. So you literally park at the parking lot at the very bottom of the mountain, and you ride this thing up to the top of the mountain, and that's where the roller coaster is. There's also a second roller coaster, but it doesn't quite have the same view aspect. And then there's, like I said, I think there's an alpine coaster as well, which, I don't know, alpine coasters, are they actually roller coasters? We'll talk about that in another podcast. It's a fun little park. They got two roller coasters, the alpine roller coaster, a bunch of kiddie stuff, and then obviously the caverns that you can explore. There's like 3 different cave tours that you can do. I only did 2 of them, but absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend. If you were a cave person like me, I'm a caveman. It's a fun. It's a kind of a park where you can like spend half a day at. You don't have to be there for the whole day, but you can waste some time. They got a really good. I will say this: the food. Oh my god, some of the best amusement park food I've ever had. I wouldn't even call it amusement park food. It is like an actual restaurant they have at the top of this thing. Super, super cool. But yeah, it is literally on top of a mountain. Like that's the best way to describe it. In Glenwood Springs there, you basically go up to the top of the mountain. You get a great view over Glenwood Springs. And then let's actually talk about a roller coaster here. Mm-hmm. So the Defiance roller coaster is a Gerstlauer Eurofighter model. So obviously it is a single car. It's not a train. It's just a single car. They run 2 cars on the track. And it has a fairly decent layout. It's really, really short, though. I think that's the biggest thing. I just want to hear your opinion just on what you've seen before I go into it too much.
So I don't know if this is a Gerstlauer, but what it kind of reminds me of a little bit actually is the SpongeBob roller coaster at the Mall of America.
That is a Gerstlauer.
It is. Okay, so
yes,
it's a vertical lift hill, which is really interesting, and then it's a steeper than steep drop. I don't know the exact degrees. I just watched a POV of it, and it's one of those things where, like Gabe said, when you're going up that vertical lift and then you're at the top, I feel like it gives you a couple seconds to just appreciate that view. It is so pretty up there. And the video that I saw, I mean, it was like a perfectly sunny day. It was absolutely freaking gorgeous. And then it takes you through this very, very intense layout. It does not slow down at any point. It's short enough that it doesn't need any mid-course brake run. So you just whip through this quick layout. I think there's one inversion. And then you're brought into the brakes.
There's 2 inversions.
There's 2 inversions.
2 inversions.
And
yes.
Then you're brought into those brakes and you're just like, whoa, what? Like you have no time to comprehend what had just happened. It's so quick, but it looks so intense. Like it looks like an actually pretty good ride for like the circumstances on where this is built and all that. It looks like a pretty good ride.
Yeah. The biggest thing is just we talked about it's only, I believe the actual height is only 75 feet. It features a drop that's 110 feet. That's because it's literally built on the side of a mountain so that can like drop deeper than the height. But it doesn't feel like 75 feet. It feels like 750 feet just because you are that high up on the side of the mountain. Like it just makes this coaster feel tall. And just the whole ride experience from start to finish, just the view and everything that you can see. And the vertical lift hill is cool too because it gives you time to really look out and see how high up you really are. It's insane. For people that have a fear of heights, this is a great coaster for you because you're not going to like it at all. But with that, so it does drop beyond vertical 102 degrees. So it is almost 15 degrees beyond vertical.
Holy cow.
After that drop, you pop up into an inversion called a banana roll. The one thing I will say is because it is beyond vertical, that drop hits really, really good for only being 115 feet.
Mm-hmm.
But you pop up into this banana roll inversion, and it's just a really weird, wacky, almost dive loopy inversion. You get some really, really good airtime at the top of it, though, which is a nice experience because typically inversions are positive Gs. Mm-hmm. Well, this one has both. You have the airtime at the top and the positive Gs at the bottom before popping up into what is called a inline twist. I don't know. That's not what I would call, I guess. I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's another kind of really weird. Actually, the inline twist is after that inversion. I don't know. I don't know what to call it. But anyway, you pop up into almost another really wacky inversion. Again, with some really interesting airtime at the top of it, some really good G-forces at the pop before going up into the actual inline twist. Now, that is an inline twist. So I don't know what to call that second. It's technically, I think the banana roll is technically one big inversion that kind of goes upside down twice.
Oh.
That would be almost the best way to describe it. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe that first element doesn't technically go upside down. I think that's
Maybe.
what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so that it's more of like an airtime hill with like a dive right after. And then that's when you pop up into, I think, what they're calling the banana roll. It's a really weird coaster. I think that's what we need to get at here. It's got some really weird, wacky elements that you wouldn't normally find. It's definitely a Gerstlauer coaster. Like you said, they have kind of a unique feel to them. And then just the fact that it is only a single car, it's not a train, I think gives it basically can do some tighter maneuvers that a train can't.
Yep, definitely.
But it's a good ride experience. It is short, but it has some really, really good force. It is very intense. A great first drop and the best view on a coaster ever. Like, let's be honest.
Easily.
Here. Yes. So just the location of this coaster and the fact that I've been able to experience it, it's definitely, I don't know if I'd call it a bucket list coaster just because it is all kind of by itself at this park. But if you have a chance, if you're either driving through Colorado or if you're out in Denver, you can make the 2-hour drive out to this park. And it is well worth that drive, in my opinion, just to ride this roller coaster.
Oh yeah, it looks really cool. And then like Gabe said, it's not a park that you have to like spend the whole day at, and it has other attractions to it, so it wouldn't be just the coasters. You could explore those caverns and stuff. And something I don't know that we mentioned, and I don't know if this matters to people, but it's basically one price to get in, isn't it, Gabe? I mean, your price of your ticket even includes the gondola ride.
Yeah, it is expensive. So for I think I want to say it's like $70 to get in. However, that includes everything. So that includes the 2 roller coasters, all of the I call them like carnival style rides because that's really what they are. That includes the Alpine coaster, but it also includes your gondola ride up and down, which I think if you buy the unlimited, you have unlimited rides. So like, let's say you don't want to eat at the park, you can ride back down. I don't want to say that because I might be wrong. But I'm pretty sure you can ride it up multiple times if you get the unlimited thing. And then, but it also includes your cave tours. So once you add everything together, $70 really isn't crazy expensive to get.
I don't think so.
Cave tours, a couple roller coaster rides, an alpine coaster, some of the amusement park rides, like this, they have a swing, like a I don't know what to call it. They have 2 different swing rides there. So they have like the swing ride where it's just like you sit in this little chair and you're connected by chains and it spins around in a circle.
Yeah.
And that's the one Sam was talking about that like swings you over the cliff and like
those
you're just
chains
hanging from these tiny little dinky chains.
The chains are never thick enough. Never. It's not safe. You're gonna die on one of those.
And then there's also like a swing ride. It's like an air-powered swing ride where it's only like 4 seats and it actually swings back and forth.
It's like a pirate ship.
And that one, yeah, but like way bigger. And then also out over the cliff.
Which again,
that's the one I'd like to get you on because you would hate that one.
Scream slow, loud. Oh my gosh.
So, but it is a really, really interesting park. Very unique park. There's nothing else like this, at least in the United States. And it is an awesome roller coaster at this really cool park.
Sometimes a lot of these like small little parks like this are really, really fun to stop at. When me and Gabe took a really big roller coaster trip a couple of years ago, we hit both Cedar Point and Kings Island. We, on our way out there, stopped at a place called Indiana Beach Boardwalk Resort. And Gabe's actually going to be talking about a roller coaster there in a couple episodes. But it was one of those things where we just stopped for like half the day. We got
That's
there
our next episode.
Is it really? Okay.
It is our next episode.
That's pretty funny. Okay, so Gabe's going to be talking about a coaster that's there. But basically what we did is we got there right when it opened. It's this really cool park. It's out on a pier. You got to walk across a bridge. They've got like 4 coasters there, I think. And there's like a whole, honestly, water park there too and stuff. But it's this really cool place, a place that you can do a half a day. It's got some really unique rides to it. And then we spent half the day there. I lost my phone there. And then we went on our way. So... It was a lot of these little, they're really fun to stop at. They usually have really unique rides. They're really cool is what it is.
Yeah, the biggest thing is they give you more of like a carnival feel or, like a county fair feel.
Oh,
They
yeah.
just feel more homey, than
Yeah.
a massive Six Flags park filled with, 20,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
They feel more homey. They have a unique feeling to them that I think is kind of underrated, especially a park like this with an amazing location, an amazing view, and some other benefits to work off like the caves and stuff. It's not just an amusement park. Like it has some more unique things to it that necessarily a Six Flags or a Cedar Fair park can't do just because they are so big.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not a nice little change of pace. Like I said, they can be expensive, and you're not going to spend a full day at them. But it's definitely worth a visit to this one, in my opinion, at least.
Oh, yeah. But with that, I think we got to kind of switch gears here and we got to talk about my coaster. And I know I didn't sound very excited to talk about this coaster.
Lightning Racer, Lightning Racer.
Dave's pulling out his grease again. I didn't think doing a roller coaster podcast, I would hear my brothers sing Grease Lightning so many times in my life. But anyways. Lightning Racer.
Lightning Racer.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
Okay.
No, you go.
So
no, you go.
I think.
No, you hang out.
Would you quit it? I am not.
Okay, I'm done.
Can you tell we're siblings? Oh my god! Sometimes I wish I could just slap him through the computer. Lightning Racer. I think
I have a new app idea.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm really done this time. Sorry, it just popped into my head. Okay. There's an app for everything nowadays.
There should be an app for that. Goddamn. Okay. The problem with Lightning Racer is I got spoiled with the first GCI. Okay, so Lightning Racer is a GCI dueling wooden roller coaster at Hersheypark in Pennsylvania. It's a length of 3,393 feet for both sides, a height of 91.6 feet for both sides, a drop of 90 feet for both sides, and a top speed of 51.1 miles per hour. And so being a GCI, I think the problem is that I got really spoiled with the first GCI I ever rode was Mystic Timbers, and that thing, pacing monster, absolutely amazing roller coaster. It made both of mine and Gabe's top 15s. And so I was like, oh, yes, another GCI. And also before this, there's another, Gabe, what's the GCI at Dollywood? I'm spacing on the name.
Thunderhead.
So Thunderhead. I don't think Thunderhead is good as Mystic Timbers, but it's still a really good ride. So the first two GCIs that I rode really kind of spoiled me. I got to ride. What?
Thunderhead is really, really good. Saying it's not as good as Mystic Timbers might be a little bit of a stretch, honestly. That's a very good coaster, in my opinion.
Okay.
Very good coaster.
The point I'm trying to make about Lightning Racer is that I was ready. I was like, another GCI. I'm ready for a pacing monster and laterals and all the forces, and it just isn't quite there. So I think that's what the problem is that I had hyped this coaster up so much in my mind, and then I rode it and it just wasn't what I was expecting. But it isn't a bad coaster. And another thing we have to think about is Mystic Timbers was built in 2017. This one was built in 2000. And the first coaster that GCI ever built was in 1996. This is 4 years into their roller coaster ventures. So it was the first coaster that actually coincidentally built was Wildcat at Hersheypark. And so being, I don't think it was their second coaster, but being a couple years into the venture, they did improve on Wildcat, but... And being a dueling coaster too, I think it's geared to be a little bit more of a family coaster. I mean, it's still quite intense, and it does pull some good forces, and it doesn't have a bad layout either. It's just I got really spoiled with Mystic Timbers and.
Well, I think you're looking at it at the wrong lens. Is honestly what I'm going to kind of argue here a little bit, because I'm a huge fan of racing coasters. You know that, I know that. Like, Gemini is one of my personal favorites of all time because you can give high fives as you're going through the roller coaster.
Yes.
But let's say, because right now you're looking through the lens of a GCI coaster. It probably doesn't live up to the GCI side of things. But again, you do have to remember, again, like you said, 2000. It's not, you're talking about 15, almost 20 years of roller coaster development over the years. But I think you need to look at it as a racing coaster. because that's what it is. It's a racing
Oh,
coaster. And
yeah.
in my opinion, it is one of the most unique, most creative, most intense racing coasters out there. Because it's not just an out and back layout, because that's what Gemini is. I mean, to a point. That's what American Eagle is. That's what, where the Racer 75 is. That's what the Racer at Kings Island is they're just out and back layouts. And that's not what Lightning Racer is.
No.
It has its twists and turns. It has its airtime moments. It has its laterals. And again, if you look at it through the racing coaster lens, this is one of the best in the country. Like, seriously, this is a really, really good coaster. And when you start looking at it through that lens versus like the GCI lens, then you'd be like, wait a minute, this is actually like a really good engineering and cool roller coaster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that was just my thing. Is in the beginning I had a very I was disappointed and I was like, oh, it's not quite. But Gabe is very right. This is not a ride to scoff at. It is a very good ride. And then on top of that, sort of kind of a disappointing thing, not about the ride, but since it's in the very back of the park, and when I went, Wildcat's Revenge, so RMC had just redone Wildcat, so a lot of ridership was over there. When you go over to Lightning Racer, it does not have much of a line. It's in the back of the park and stuff like that. And so it's a really easy ride to get on. And yeah, Gabe's really right. So it's not the best in a GCI aspect, but it really is a GCI version of a dueling coaster. And he's very right. It's got a lot more turns and a lot more interesting interactions. And even to a lot of other rides, if they are a dueling one that has near misses, they only have a couple. This one has six different moments where you cross paths with that other train. And we've talked about some other dueling coasters and how much that adds to the ride experience. And it is so much fun when you're interacting with that other train and stuff like that. And I can also say this is one of the dueling coasters that still actually frickin' duels. You get to see both trains.
Does this pass the high five test of a dueling coaster or no?
No, it doesn't, unfortunately.
Oh,
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think.
I suppose it's not technically safe.
No, it's not. So it's one of those things too where to get into this layout, it's the green side, which is called the Thunder Train, and the red side, which is called the Lightning Train. And they are not perfect mirrors of each other, but they sort of are a little bit. If you're turning right on one side, most likely you're going to be turning left on the other side. So going into the Thunder Train, you get a slight left out of the station that leads into a right-hand turn around, sort of a turnaround, and to a slight left back into that lift hill. You get a chain lift hill. And what's interesting about this ride too is the lift hills are actually staggered. And it gives this illusion that one side is higher than the other, but they're actually the exact same height. It's just that one's kind of in front of the other. And so on the Lightning side, it seems like a normal coaster because you can see out to the one side, you can see up to the other. But when you're on the Thunder side, on the Lightning side, the red side, you have that lift hill right next to you, and it's just a little bit taller than you. So you can see to the one side, but you just have this giant lift hill like right next to you. And it gives you a really good feeling of just how big roller coasters are. But to get into this, you have a signature GCI curved drop to the right. It is 90 feet, brings you to that top speed of 51. Gabe's not a fan, but they're.
I'm not a fan. I'm a first drop purist, and that is not a pure first drop. But okay, continue.
No, so when I was originally watching the POV of this, it makes it look like, so you go down that first curve drop and then you turn to the left a little bit and it looked like an airtime hill to me. But when I watched a review, when you're looking from the side, he actually described it as almost like a double down. So it's like you go down the drop and you get a little pop before you drop down even further. And that leads into a banked curve to the right, and you get another. Sorry, I'm reading my notes. You get another airtime hill that sends you into the elevated turnaround. So depending on what side you're riding on, you either go right or left. But it's like this banked turn as you're going up, and then come back down, and you actually drop into a tunnel. And this tunnel has its own little hill in it. And I hesitate to call it an airtime hill. It's more of like a speed hill. You go over this thing really fast because you've just dropped out of that turnaround. And it's really a nice little element because it's inside that tunnel, so you can't see as well, especially since you're going from light to dark. And then you are sent straight up into a hill, an airtime hill that has a banked curve to the right, a banked curve to the left that pops you up. You significantly slow down because then it leads into a curved turnaround, either to the right or the left, depending on where you ride. And this is one of the most iconic, I feel like, near misses because you have these descending curved turnarounds. So you get like a cross, you get like an X where the trains meet, and it's really cool. You get a really nice view of the other train and stuff. And then you pop over into a straight airtime hill that leads into a banked left turn. You get a couple off-axis airtime hills that descends into a curve to the right. And then you're popped up into a series of like bunny hills. And I think the problem is that you've kind of slowed down to this point, so you don't go too fast over those bunny hills. And then it actually has like an actual finish line at the final breaks there. And that's a fun little moment because you actually get a very clear view of who, quote unquote, wins the race. And then on top of that, another thing with that kind of aspect of it is when you get pulled back into the station, they actually have lights, and whatever side technically won, that light will be lit up and spinning and stuff, which is pretty cool.
You know what it sounds like to me, this coaster? It sounds like a kid was just doing spaghetti art on the wall, and they're like, yep, that's our roller coaster.
Literally, there are so many like curves and little tiny hills. Like, I gloss over a lot. Like, you just have to experience this ride too. And then another thing with GCIs is because they offer so many like off-axis turns and stuff. Another thing is when I first rode this roller coaster, I rode it in the back row, and I was kind of like, eh. And then, of course, I go back to ride it again. I rode it in the front row instead. And the front row is definitely the place to ride this roller coaster. It makes it a better experience, I think.
GCIs are always been a little bit finicky on where the best seat on the coaster is. I think Mystic Timbers is one of the one that actually like fits the back seat rule.
Yes.
But that coaster is all about just the repetitive airtime.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the biggest issue that you probably have with the Lightning Racer over the other ones is probably pacing, is what it sounds like. It sounds like it has some slow spots. It has maybe a couple of dull spots. And that's what we expect in a GCI, especially like a Thunderhead or a Mystic Timbers. You expect just relentless.
Oh, yeah.
Moment after moment after moment, just never really slows down or gives up on throwing you a different direction. And again, Lightning Racer is 2000, but it's almost a little bit more of a traditional wooden coaster versus like a new age wooden roller coaster. Would you agree with that assessment?
Mm-hmm.
So, Lightning Racer, it sounds like a really good ride experience. I think the racing aspect, though, is really what we have to stress here. It is a racing GCI coaster, a dueling GCI coaster, just a very unique take on what a racing coaster is supposed to be. And I think in that aspect, it does really well. And it just is a very intriguing coaster. It's at Hersheypark, which we do have to bring up a little bit because Hersheypark is an awesome amusement park. I've never been there, and I just know it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And what it comes down to, I think, with Lightning Racer is just its age. It is an older ride. And then the fact that you have, Sky Rush, Wildcats Revenge, Candemonium, some really, really good Fahrenheit. You can start really listing off the coasters at Hersheypark, and this kind of gets buried a little bit, if you're being honest. It might not necessarily get buried, but I definitely think it gets forgotten. Definitely an underrated roller coaster, in my opinion, just based off the layout and your opinion of it.
Oh, yeah. And something I do have to mention is a lot of the times we talk about with wooden coasters and how as they age, they inevitably get more rough and stuff like that. Lightning Racer is actually really freaking smooth in terms of wooden roller coasters, and part of that is due so this is the first coaster to sport their Millennium Flyer trains, and it's used those trains ever since it opened, and it's really done a lot to preserve the track. So it is one of the smoothest trains, not to mention that the Millennium Flyer trains, they're not the normal PTC trains that you see in a lot of other wooden roller coasters. They're a little bit more roomy, a little bit more open. Instead of a straight lap bar, they have T restraints instead. So that does have a really nice restraint system on them. And then something else I do want to mention before we run out of time here, as we have to talk about the light scheme that is on this ride at night. Something I didn't know because I went to this park in August, so I left before it was completely dark out. So a lot of times with wooden coasters, what they generally just do is put up spotlights on the track, which makes it look really cool. It illuminates it and gives some really nice shadow and stuff. But what they did on this is they put runner lights on the so if you've been on a wooden coaster, on the one side where like the maintenance pathway is, there'll be like a railing. They put runner lights along those. So basically what it ended up doing with these lights is making it look like it was outlining the track. Look up aerial views of this coaster at night with those lights on. It looks so cool. And then at the same time, they are, I don't know that they're LED, but they can change colors. So sometimes they have one track lit up in one color, one track lit up in the other. Sometimes it literally, I saw one picture where it was lit up in rainbow and it looked like a Rainbow Road picture from like Mario Kart. It was so cool.
The Mario Kart version of a roller coaster.
Yes, it looked so cool.
Oh, that's funny.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something that me and Gabe talk about it a little bit, but coasters, a lot of times, especially cool ones, are really pretty to look at. They just look cool.
Yeah, definitely. With that, though, I think we got to pick a winner here. I'll go first. Looking at these two coasters, I think there's two things that it's going to come down to for me. Number one is the racing aspect. I love racing coasters. I love dueling coasters. Number two, GCI. I'm a huge GCI fan. If it's not a GCI, I don't call it a wooden coaster, but that's not true. But I love GCI coasters, and I think on this one, I'm actually going to have to go with yours. Believe it or not, I know Defiance is a great location, great view, but when we're getting down to the nitty-gritty things, you're talking ride experience and roller coasters and all this, that, and the other thing. Lightning Racer is the better coaster in my opinion. I truly think it's a longer ride experience. It's a dueling racing coaster. It's a wooden coaster. It's a GCI. Just when you talk about actual roller coaster here, I'm going to have to go with Lightning Rod actually on this one.
And I think I'm actually going to have to agree with you. The biggest draw for Defiance, honestly, is just the location that it's at and the view that you get. So in terms of roller coasters specifically, I do think Lightning Racer does win. And I know I sounded so pessimistic at the beginning, but it really is a really fun ride.
We kind of flip-flopped on this one
no,
a little bit.
It kind of expresses my journey through researching the ride, because at the beginning I was kind of like, I was only covering the ride because it was my most recent credit. But when I was really like watching the POV again and going through it and stuff like that, I'm like, it really isn't a bad ride. I just had the wrong attitude, like Gabe said, going in to ride it, and that kind of really muddied my opinion of it. But it really is a great coaster. And
that is one thing that I have become really, really, really good at, is getting the proper expectation, except for one, which is Steel Vengeance, which, I mean, that's its own thing, Yeah,
we've covered that.
But when it comes to expectations and figuring out what to expect of a roller coaster, what lens to look through, because I think that's a lot about when you're looking at a roller coaster. You have to look at it through the correct lens. If you look at it through the wrong lens, especially like a Millennium Force, that's another coaster where you really have to sit down and go, hey, this was the first one, know?
Yep.
Just, you have to come in with the right mindset. You also have to come in, with the right lens, the looking at a coaster through the correct glasses or lens or whatever word you want to use. And I think that's what it comes down to with Lightning Racer is you do have to use the correct lens. You do have to look at it from the right perspective to really appreciate what it is. But I think, again, in this battle, I think if you really truly appreciate what Lightning Racer is, it is the better roller coaster in this one.
Yeah. So, but with that, our next episode, like Gabe said, so our next episode is called Most Unique Lift Hills. So this is going to be a very interesting episode. We're going to be talking about
we're going to be talking about a personal favorite roller coaster of mine, a coaster that was at one point in my top 15.
Mm-hmm.
A coaster that I need to talk about this roller coaster. It's been itching the back of my brain. Like, I have to bring it into the podcast. It is such an interesting, intriguing, crazy, just really weird experience for a roller coaster. I need to talk about it, and this is the perfect episode. But your coaster ain't no slouch either. All right.
No.
That's a really, really good ride experience. It's definitely going to be a very unique and interesting battle.
Oh, yeah. I'm very excited. So join us next week for that episode, everybody.
Bye-bye.